What's up guys, in today's video we're going to be discussing the key changes as part of the Battlefield 1 patch that came out on, well, today, November 15th, 2016. I'll include the full patch notes in the description because I know a lot of people just prefer to read it, or because you might want to see every single change, because I'm only going to highlight the ones that I feel are extremely important, and I'm sure I'm going to maybe miss a few along the way. So it'll be included in the description if you want to go back and actually check them all out for yourself. But first things of note, for the video you're going to see in the back, I was planning on turning the background commentary into a raw rounds or lightly edited and no commentary, but I changed my mind and I'm using this. If you're interested in those types of like 40 to 5, like 50 to 10 style rounds with limited commentary in them in the background, let me know, I got tons. Additionally, tomorrow, the 16th, Battlefest begins. Battlefield says this week-long celebration of the Battlefield franchise will be packed with new activities, including login rewards, a live stream, a unique Battlefield revision for battle packs, community missions, and Fog of War, etc. So, what Fog of War is basically, it's a unique team deathmatch experience, and it reduces your sight because, of course, there's going to be fog, as it says, and the minimap and soldier name tags are turned off. So, essentially, it's like an even more insane hardcore mode, but just probably without the actual damage modifiers. So, interesting take, I suppose. In addition, rent a server, custom games, and all sorts of different tweaks came with this patch. So, Battlefest begins tomorrow. Stay tuned for that, I suppose, if you're interested in that, because that's part of the patch that came with it. Before we get into the actual patch changes, and again, just little housekeeping notes, I've heard reports of either the new driver that came out today or the patch itself causing some issues for crashes on PC, so if you're having these, make sure to report it into DICE or Reddit, or share it with others so that way others can maybe try and figure out a source of the problem with it. So, let's go. First thing was attacked operations. DICE made it clear that attackers needed a boost, and as a result they increased overall tickets from in both 40 and 64 players for attacking teams. They also reduced the amount of time it takes to capture flags for the attackers when they jumped on the flags. So individually, when breaking it down for 64 player rounds, they increased attacker maximum tickets up to 250. It was previously 150. They increased the amount of tickets gained from killing retreating defenders from 2 up to 3. So every time you kill someone, you get 3 tickets back. Increased the amount of minimum tickets regained when capturing a sector from 30 to 50 on 64-player operations. And of course, it slightly reduced the time it takes to take flags. 250 seems like a lot of tickets, because I know the attackers were at a disadvantage when I was playing a lot of the rounds myself. But having said that, there are a lot of games where we would lose basically in the last section, and we'd lose down to, it would be a fight for the between one of 2 flags, and all of a sudden we lose it and that's it. And I don't know, maybe 250 is based out so that it's over the course of multiple maps, because I did find a lot of the time that some of the maps you wouldn't get out of the first actual map, so maybe it was designed for multiple maps in mind, because 250 for one map, well-coordinated team's going to blow through that with ease. So we'll see how that balances out. For the 40-player, which I actually prefer to play, it increased maximum tickets to 200 from 150. It increased the amount of tickets regained from killing defenders from 2 to 3, and again, slightly reduced the time it takes to take flags. That one I feel might end up being more balanced than the 64 as of now, but we'll see how it goes. I've actually yet to play it very much yet, so we'll see. Next up was Suez. They changed up that clusterfuck of a map. They added 2 additional flags in the map, giving it a total of 5 as opposed to the previous 3. They added an armored car for either team to spawn in their headquarters, and DICE's logic behind this was to sort of break sort of spawn traps that would occur once, because you know what would happen. You'd lose 2 flags and all of a sudden you were stuck in the back of your map. This was meant to help you get out of there, because they did have horses, but of course good shots would just snipe them immediately. They reduced the size of the capture volumes of flags located in the villages toward what was the old A and B flags. And this was to reduce the amount of interior buildings that you could capture it from. Because like if 2 people hid in one building and there were another 2 people scattered about, good luck trying to find those guys without getting killed. So it made it a bit of a nightmare. So I think it's a good change. As of note 2 previously, to go back, Fog of War and hardcore servers are not yet out as of the 15th. but it's entirely possible it comes out tomorrow. So if you see this video tomorrow or a later day and all of a sudden you realize that they're out, be aware they weren't out on the 15th, the day that I'm releasing the video and that the patch came out. Just so you know. Next up, quality changes. The big one here, you can customize your soldier within the UI by either selecting the icon on home or on the soldier menu. So you don't have to go and customize inside the game anymore. That's a welcome change, thank God. Next, squad leader. If he ignores requests for orders, the leadership is transferred to another member of the squad. And how this works is when a squad member requests an order and say there's no active order, the requesting player is added to the wannabe leader queue for that squad, and a 60-second timer begins. If that 60-second time goes by and nothing is ordered, the first member in the squad queue, the one that actually requested the order first, becomes the squad leader. If there are other members in the queue after him, the timer is automatically reset to 60 seconds if the new member doesn't do his duty anymore. And it just keeps going on this way until someone starts promoting where to go. If the current squad leader issues an order, then the queue is cleared. Next, equal weather in Rush. This was an issue. And I guess you wouldn't really know if you encountered it because like you could see a sandstorm and all of a sudden what would happen is, okay, here is the problem. What would happen is you'd be playing a match and you'd see a sandstorm, and sometimes the enemy wouldn't see the sandstorm, so that would put them at a massive disadvantage. That enemy team would basically just shoot you down and you'd be like, how the hell did he see me through the sand? The problem was there was no sand. He could just see you the whole time. So apparently they fixed this. It now uses the same weather sequence and trigger conditions for both playing teams in the match. Which, I mean, thank God. That would be one hell of an oversight to continue to leave in the game. So that's fixed at least from what it sounds like. Next up, too, you can change the... what's changed, I should have mentioned earlier, too, what was changed is operations, which changed to a default count of 64 as opposed to 40. So I'm going to have to keep that in mind because I actually prefer the 40 mode a lot more than I do the 64 as of now. It's just more cluttered and clustered up this way, even though it does actually play out pretty well. So just keep that in mind. Next one, I know a lot of people absolutely love this one. The default player count of you can now quit a match during the entire countdown between match timers. And originally in the previous patch they did add that in, the ability to quit between matches, but it seemed as if it was completely random. Like if you didn't immediately choose it, sometimes it would disappear. You'd run your cursor over where it should be and it just wouldn't pop up, and then right as it was about to load a server, the quit would pop up. You wouldn't notice it in time. It loads the next match. So apparently now the quit icon is always there, no problems. Next, microtransactions. You can now purchase battle packs in the Get Battle Packs menu. In addition, Squad XP Boost has been added to the battle packs, and not just the ones you can purchase, to clarify, so you can receive this item when you open a battle pack. What it does is allow everyone in your squad to get extra experience, basically double from what I've seen for an hour. So that's why I imagine releasing this in tandem with the ability to sort of reassign squad members is optimizing max point counts. Because like say you popped an XP boost and then the guy in front doesn't actually use it. But although the more intelligent strategy of course would be to make sure you're the leader before you pop one yourself. So that works. More XP for you. So for the next point, scout spotting flares did not work if the player died as he shot them, which didn't really make a lot of sense in hindsight, the logic. If you died, it still should be there, and apparently that's how it works now, as well as airplane spotting flares. So even if you die as you deploy them, you're still going to get the chance for your teammates to benefit from it, so that's good. The next part for battle... Oh, and the other one too. With regard to... You know, you would sometimes in some games, you just wouldn't be able to see the end game screen, especially in operations. That's because apparently if you died right before the operations screen was over, or operations game mode was over, that was it. You wouldn't even get the chance to see the end game screen anymore. Apparently that's been fixed. In addition, with the patch, CPU DirectX 12 for PC anyway, and several client crashes have been fixed. I've yet to see this. I'm still having issues with my 770 as it frequently crashes, especially if I enter Monte Grappa and other maps. I have yet to see if this is fixed because I haven't played it long enough. Apparently they're still around for some people. Hopefully that's addressed in the near future, or maybe it's just the odd problem that one or two people are having, hopefully, and that's addressed for multiple people. Next up, weapon balance. This was an interesting one. They increased LMG bullet suppression at medium range, so that's their optimal role, put down suppression to help out the team advance. They increased the aim accuracy of support machine guns apparently as well. They decreased the first shot recoil multiplier on many support weapons, so ideally this sounds like a buff. They increased the BAR M1918's horizontal recoil, and I don't really think that makes a lot of sense, considering I think that was the absolute best weapon. If you're going to buff an entire class, maybe you should start buffing recoil behaviors of all weapons and not just nerf one weapon by giving it more recoil, especially the best one. So I don't really see how that makes a lot of sense. With regard to lower weight variant machine guns, they now gain accuracy faster during fire. So I guess that would be a buff for the low weight versions. They added bipods to the low weight LMGs as well, and I'm surprised they didn't have them to begin with, considering it's an LMG. They reduced the effective recoil direction slightly and made it scale correctly with recoil modifiers like bipods. They adjusted accuracy values of SMG and LMGs in customize to better represent differences. I think that more applies to, I guess, well, the Hell Regal and the Automatico. The Hell Regal now overheats and a little bit slower and has increased horizontal recoil, and I had to go back and actually change that text in a video I'm going to put up shortly for the Hell Regal. I'm not sure why they would add more recoil to that weapon, considering its niche was medium range, and adding horizontal recoil sort of takes that niche out. And if you're going to make that medium range niche it has less effective, your better choice would probably be the Automatico. So we'll see how that one plays out. Next one I don't agree with much either. They reduced the rate of fire on the Russian 1895 infantry and sniper to make it fire again when more readied up. And I guess as much as it wouldn't apply to if it has a marksman variant, I can't remember, the fire rate went down from 64 down to 56, and that's a substantial fire rate nerf. And it basically reduces the odds of me using it, to be honest. I'd rather stick with the SMLE or any of the Cavalry variants. So it took away what made the weapon appealing. Not too fond of that. They changed the damage multipliers for buckshots to be more consistent. This will eliminate some of the unintentionally high and unintentionally low damage hits, because you've seen it when you use the shotgun. You're close range and it does like 60 damage, and then you're further away and all of a sudden you're getting a kill from 15 meters away. Hopefully that's addressed. In terms of gadget balance, the ones that I really wanted to address are mortars, and I found it interesting. Mortars now have an increased time to deploy before they are fully accurate. They've increased the inaccuracy penalty for firing multiple mortars at once, which is nice. It reduces spam. They've reduced the max damage radius of support airburst mortars, which mortars need to land closer to do 65 damage, and that's a big nerf to mortars. I'm not fond of mortars at all. I think they're a spammy gadget, but I do see their purpose, and having them unable to do kills in an area of people clustered up that's a significant nerf. The one I'm not too fond of, though, for both support mortars, it says can now fire 2 smoke rounds in addition to their default round. I'm not sure if this means that for every round you can also fire a smoke, because if that is the case, then that's incredible spam and I do not like the sounds of it. If it means that you can also fire smoke rounds in addition to the round, meaning like you can separate the differences, that's not so much of a big deal. Hopefully someone clarifies that in the comments. In terms of vehicle balance, no more boat XP exploits. You know, the bug where you could go and shoot enemy boats that were unmanned for XP. That's gone. That's good. Can't do that anymore. They changed the AA as well, and I mean the anti-air is basically a massive source of criticism, or people pro the idea of having it. So I imagine that the community will never come to a consensus on this logistically, but they did nerf it. decreased the damage of AA cannons against planes and airplane parts. They reduced the AA truck range to better align with the stationary AA and prevent headquarters camping. And they fixed a badly aligned shell eject on the stationary AA. So, before I get into my thoughts, I'll talk about the planes. They increased the blast radius damage and radius of the Rankin darts. They reduced the damage of scout rifles against plane parts, so no longer, as I've had many times, can you disable an engine just by shooting it. Possibly. Haven't tested it, but I'm pretty sure that's what they mean by that. And they increased the damage of K-bullets against attack planes. So now K-bullets have a more defined role against vehicles. You can't specifically just use standard rounds from the sounds of it to take out plane parts. You actually have to use the K-bullets. So it gives them more of a purpose, I suppose. But going back to the AA, that'll be a hot button issue. I have found that it's so easy to take out planes on the AA, at least on PC. On console, I've heard that using the sticks can be a bit cumbersome. But I don't know. I found that the best pilots could still counter around the AA anyway. So nerfing it might actually make the average pilot better, but as long as it doesn't have, as long as we don't have these 50, 60 and 0 pilot rounds going insane, we'll test it. I can't make a definitive conclusion having not really played that much on the new patch yet, but we'll see. I struggled to. I felt it was not that far off. I think balance was decent previously, so we'll see how this nerf plays out. I have too small a sample size in my playtime to really come to a definitive conclusion on that matter, so we'll see. Next up, the last bits. They reduced the damage on a cavalry soldier when taking headshots, and I don't know how to feel about that either. I found it was easy to snipe people immediately. Maybe it was less so for other weapons, or more so for other weapons taking extra damage from those weapons. We'll see. Not 100% sure about that. Where else? They increased the range that anti-tank grenades can be thrown from horseback, which is interesting. It means it gives horses a better opportunity to take out tanks. It increased the damage hand grenades do to transport vehicles. The armored artillery truck now does slightly more damage up close, but less damage at longer range. Bullet drop has also been reduced to increase players' ability to hit at longer ranges. So it's basically, if you didn't like this thing and you thought it was a spam truck, it's about to become a lot more spammy. But it's sort of its role, I suppose, considering that it has such little armor, you can't do anything at medium to close range with it anyway. Vehicle deployed mines now can have up to 6 mines alive in the world at once. It was previously 3, so that makes the viability of some of the light tank variants that specialized in, I think it's the flanker tank that has the mines. It makes it more viable because now you can have 6 mines in the world at once, as opposed to 3 where you had to sort of strategically pick certain areas and maybe try and bait people into going into it. We'll see. The train on Suez now has a heavy mortar on the front. On the front turret instead of a 57mm anti-tank gun. Apparently this is to give more of an impact on captured flags for conquest, but we'll see. And last points, with regard to server. They improved server performance and bandwidth usage for airplanes. They improved the handling of network jitter, packet loss, and packets arriving in the wrong order. They improved server balance of barbed wire objects in the levels. We'll see. They increased they added grenades to the high frequency updates to avoid problems with players taking damage from explosives before they visually detonated. And they better this one's an interesting one. They balance players based on skill in the current game mode instead of global skill now. So I imagine if that's the way it sounds like it's going to be better for overall server balance as opposed to. Well, and even so, you can make the argument that global balance in terms of... Well, I think it's maybe because people are ranking up, they'd rather look at individual skill as opposed to global skill, because now that they've gotten familiar with the game, they have better weapons. We'll see. That's an interesting one. I'd like to see how that plays out, if it's more skill-based matchmaking now as opposed to global skill. So matches get, quote-unquote, more sweaty. And the last two... server performance improvements and several common crash errors in servers, because I have had a lot of crash errors. I've had my GTX 770 crash errors, as I've alluded to, and my internet shit. So I have a lot of sources of ways to crash, but I have noticed that there have been several server crashes prior to this, and I have had concerns, of course, with the GTX 770. So that's basically it for the commentary. Let me know your thoughts if you'd like to see more of these raw round style gameplays, just with less commentary or maybe slight commentary added to them. Let me know your thoughts on the changes. Are you having server issues? Are you having crash issues? Do you feel the Mortar was nerfed too much? Do you feel support class still needs a buff? Do you plan on playing hardcore mode? Do you think hardcore mode's a waste of time? If you have an opinion, let me know in the comments. If you'd like to see specific types of gameplays, let me know in the comments. And that's about it. Hope you enjoyed the gameplay. Hope you enjoyed the commentary, even though it was a little bit scattered because it was a longer one. Have a good one, guys.
Vorsicht jetzt! Sturmsoldat!
The final objective is within our reach.
Sanitäter gesichtet! Das ist ein feindlicher Sturmsoldat!
We have taken objective butter.
Panzerabwehrkanone, aufpassen!
Of our soldiers remain.
Fine work, men. With the iron fist of the great Kaiser, we have smashed their defenses. Now onwards. Let us march to Amiens and bring an end to this war.